Live from KPRC Channel 2, this is Sports Sunday, presented by Nissan.
Well, it's been an emotional weekend for the Texans franchise. Team owner, founder, and CEO Bob McNair passing away Friday at the age of 81. McNair, of course, brought the NFL back to Houston in 2002, but left an indelible impact with all of his philanthropic work throughout the Houston community. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Sports Sunday. Randy, Wex, and Laney with you tonight. A lot to get to, including we're going to be previewing that Texans Monday night game with Tennessee, the fight in a Jags-Bills game, and we'll show you a lot more, including that Aggies 7 overtime win over LSU. But we think it's appropriate tonight. We spent a few minutes to open the show with the spotlight on the passing of owner Bob McNair. Chester Pitts, Lance Zierlein will join me shortly as well. It's been a difficult 48 hours, I think.
Yeah, we're going to get to some of the reaction, especially on social media from the players, people who knew him the most. Something that I'm hearing the most is the chances and the opportunities he gave a lot of people, his charity work, and then, as you mentioned earlier, bringing football back to Houston.
Yeah, obviously from a fan's perspective, that's something that they think of first sometimes and then realize over the time he spent here in Houston, and it was a very long time. He and his family, his wife Janice, and their very large extended family here in Houston spent a lot of time and effort making this city better.
All right, Texans, meanwhile, have been preparing for the game, but some video came in, pretty touching video.
Yeah, the Texans were getting ready for this Titans game. As we mentioned, Bill O'Brien addressed the team before Saturday's practice regarding the passing of owner Bob McNair.
All right, guys, as you guys all know, sad news yesterday that Mr. McNair passed away. He fought cancer for a long time, fought it hard, and he passed away. And I just think on a day like this, before we hit the field, you know, this is his field, and let's have a little moment of silence, and then we break and we go to practice, because at the end of the day, guys, you know, Bob McNair wanted us to win. He wanted us to win football games. Let's just take a moment of silence, think about Bob, and then we'll head to practice.
Pretty touching moment there. And when news broke early Friday evening of McNair's passing, the Texans released several statements from those within the organization that were very close to him, including Texans president Jamie Rootes. He said in part, Bob McNair had a positive impact on many people's lives. He was a role model as a father, husband, philanthropist, and businessman. He was the reason professional football returned to Houston, and he stewarded our franchise with a laser focus on honesty, integrity, and character. He went on to say, Bob gave me, as we mentioned earlier, an opportunity 19 years ago to be a part of the creation of the Texans, and he became my mentor, hero, and father figure. Former Texans head coach Gary Kubiak also in a statement about owner Bob McNair. I'll be grateful, forever grateful to Bob McNair. He gave me the opportunity of a lifetime to become a head coach in the NFL for my hometown team. During our 8 seasons, Bob treated me and my family with such kindness and respect. He was a good man and the definition of class.
Yeah, so also going around to social media, and of course the players are taking to that and posting about that. Of course, J.J. Watt tweeted, and we'll get to that in a second. But first, we'll get to one of these tweets here.
JJ was one of the first people on Twitter with this, and he posted this picture.
Okay, yeah, there it is. I was like, where is it? JJ was the first one. So he says, rest in peace, Mr. McNair. Thank you for giving myself and so many others an opportunity here in Houston. Once again, that word opportunity mentioned. And this is Christian Covington. This man changed the lives of so many people in this great city and around the country. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to fulfill my dreams and drafting me to play for this distinguished organization. And then legend right there, Andre Johnson. Can't thank you enough for giving a kid from Miami a chance to live out his dream of playing in the NFL. My deepest condolences go out to the McNair family.
Yeah, and one thing you saw in some of those posts, you definitely saw it in the Andre Johnson post. We've heard it from a lot of people around the city. There was that Mr. McNair smile. He and Andre there on that field that Bill O'Brien said that is his field. That's what you saw there. So for more on Mr. McNair, Randy is standing by with 2 very special guests.
All right, thanks a lot, guys. We're going to spend a few more minutes now looking back at the life and the impact that Bob McNair had on the Texans organization, City of Houston. Pleasure to be joined by original Texan. You know him well, Chester Pitts.
Randy Mack.
See you. Lance Zierlein from ESPN 97.5. Guys, thanks for your time. This has been a difficult 48 hours for the Texans organization, fans of the Texans as well. And I'm anxious to hear some insight from you guys. You knew Bob McNair. You knew what he meant to this organization, what the Texans meant to him. Chester, let's begin with you. You played for Mr. McNair.
I did.
What did it mean for you?
You know, it was one of those things where the evolution of my perception of Mr. McNair changed over the years. You know, I came in as a rookie, green as can be. I'm just trying to be in the building. I'm just trying to be happy. But I would say some of the biggest takeaways from Mr. McNair were he was a very, very astute businessman. Mm-hmm. But all of that and the driving factors behind being great and being great at what he does was his love for his family and his love for his community. That's something that I will always remember about him, that I learned about him, and, you know, caring for it in my life. That is something that's very valuable for me.
Lance, you've been around Houston area for a long, long time, and
right.
I know you had a chance to spend some time with him over the years.
When I first started in '97, there was no NFL team here in Houston, so we really didn't have that to carry us through our coverage until 2002, when Mr. McNair brought football back to the city of Houston. You know, and that's without talking about the philanthropic things that he did, like $100 million donation towards breast cancer research, and
probably a lot of stuff we never knew about.
He's not that man. He's not the kind of man that it's all about publicizing and talk about what I'm doing. He just does it. All the people that said he couldn't do it, the fact that when he brought the team here, think about it, he beat out how many people in LA, and he pulled it off, and he didn't even bat an eye about it. He just like, I set out, here's the mission, I'm going to go knock it out and get it done.
This is a man who was a friend to many inside the organization, all over the city officials as well, but this guy was competitive too. He wanted to win football games,
well,
and he was driven. He wanted a Super Bowl. He didn't get the Super Bowl, but
you get to his level.
Yeah.
You know, when you have that letter B after the amount of dollars that you have.
Yeah.
What else is there to do? You better believe he was competitive. You better believe he wanted to win.
Yeah.
But in that same breath and that same, you know, you're talking about that same conversation, he was only willing to do it his way. And his way was with extremely high character guys. His way was with, you know, basically men that when they walked, they squeaked. And if you didn't have that, then you couldn't be a part of the organization. And that was, you know, a lot of people have a conversation and say, well, why did he do that? Or should you know, look for edgier guys or push that envelope? But he held to his guns and he said, I'm going to do it my way.
Moving forward, Cal McNair will run this franchise, and you know, he's been preparing for this and step right in. He's been heavily involved
from day one.
What's your big take now that the change will take place here?
Well, I think Cal McNair is going to be a lot like his father. I think he's going to have certain standards that he wants to maintain. The question will be, you know, there may be some day-to-day stuff football-wise where maybe he pulls back a little bit on some of the reins that Bob McNair put on the team in terms of the squeaky clean guys. And I'm not saying you take on low-character guys. I think that's still something they want to avoid. Right. But maybe a little edgier player is going to be on the board draft-wise for the Houston Texans.
Especially if they've shown this.
Yeah.
They had their issue, it was 2 or 3 years ago,
and if they're on
they've been on the upswing.
And that's how most teams do it, frankly. So that may be a difference. But in terms of how the organization is run, I don't think it's going to change. I think, you know, I think it's still going to be a pretty classy organization in terms of wanting to put forth the best possible product in the best facilities. I think they'll still do that.
I think one thing that's going to jump out at a lot of folks is Cal he's a little bit more laid back, and that's why we call him Cowboy Cal, because he's cool like that. But I really believe that the big change that I'm going to see out of him is when it comes to involvement, or when it comes to putting his fingers and touching and being more involved. I definitely see him being very heavily involved. I see him being in every single meeting that he can be in. I really feel like, because he's made a point to engross himself in learning the game and learning the system.
He says he talks with Bill O'Brien just about every day.
And I really believe that's going to translate to more input and more decisions. Where Mr. McNair was more about, you know, I hire you, I put you in position, you're the expert that I'm hiring, go do your job. I think Cal will be much more involved.
All right, a great look at the impact of Bob McNair with the Texans, with the city. We could go on and on, but great stuff there. Original Texan Chester Pitts. Chester, appreciate it. Lance, good stuff. Stick around a few more minutes. Lance and I will also look at Monday Night Football coming up tomorrow night. We'll take a look at that matchup. Appreciate it, guys.
Watson throws back across his body. Hits Jordan Thomas for another touchdown.
A win tomorrow night would set the franchise record with 8 straight wins. Still to come, I've got a fun dive into the story of the winning streak.
Plus, coming up, that 7 overtime thriller that everyone is still talking about. That's next on Sports Sunday.
This is Sports Sunday, presented by Nissan.
Welcome back to Sports Sunday. Plays like this defined the Texans' first 3 weeks of the season. They weren't getting blown out, but they did not look good. Whatever it took to lose, that's what they did. Then the light went on, and the team took off, and now they're hoping that flight continues tomorrow night. After starting 0-3, things finally started to click for the Texans. Got the plays they needed at the end, and those key plays late during this win streak have continued.
Here it is. Deshaun looking, throws over the middle, and he's got Hopkins across the 30 to 25. Hopkins down to the 20-yard line. Peterman takes the snap. He's looking left. He throws that way. It's picked up by Jonathan Joseph across the 15, 10-5. Rock and roll. The Texans go in front on the pick six. Watson fakes the pass to QT, now throws it downfield to his left. Has Hopkins across the 45, 50, 45 of Dallas, spin move, 40, 35. DeAndre Hopkins inside the 30, down to the 27-yard line. What a catch and run by Nuke!
And then the offense showed what it can really do.
To the goal line, and Miller is in. Touchdown, Houston. Here's a throw to the end zone, right side, and caught for a touchdown by Jordan Thomas. Watson throws back across his body. Hits Jordan Thomas for another touchdown.
And DeAndre Hopkins was, well, hot.
Deshaun stepping to his left, now throwing deep down left side, and Hopkins with a one-handed grab at the 45-yard line of Miami. How does he do it? And if it ends up not counting, it's one of those Hopkins catches that you'll want to see forever, even though it doesn't count.
And, the guy had two hands. He was off balance. So I think somebody owed me an apology. I don't know who it is. Somebody owed me an apology.
Is that a better catch than your other great catch that didn't count against the Giants?
Oh, yeah. That's the best catch ever. That counted. Care what you say, that counted.
Is there a little luck involved in a 7-game winning streak?
Down, the kick is up.
Wide right.
It's no good. It's wide right. The Texans win it.
Maybe. But there's been plenty of great playmaking.
Here's the snap. Smith looking, firing to the end zone, and it's intercepted. Brought out by Reed, and he takes it right side across the 40, the 50, the 40 of Washington. No one's going to get him. A pick six.
The Texans defense has been among the league's best during the win streak in terms of points allowed and passer rating allowed. After Tennessee tomorrow night, here's what's left for the Texans. None of these teams in the current NFL playoff picture, though. The Browns, Colts, and Eagles, they're still in the mix. Now here's Randy and LZ again with more on what's ahead.
All right, thanks a lot, Wex. Let's talk more of the Texans and the Titans coming up Monday Night Football tomorrow. Lance Zierlein back with us, and time to dive in. National TV tomorrow. But before we kind of get into that, 0-3 to 7-3, can you still wrap your hands or arms around what they have been able to accomplish?
It's funny when I think back on it. When you looked at the schedule, you could see a schedule that was actually favorable, that you could assume some wins potentially, but it's hard to assume any wins when you're 0-3, right? Starting off 0-3. But it did, appear to break favorably for the Texans if they could right the ship, and they have righted the ship. Now, not all of these wins have been in convincing fashion, but they've had things breaking their way, and they've capitalized on these opportunities. And all you do now is continue to try to ride that momentum. This is, I think, a really good opportunity on Monday Night Football to show out against a team, frankly, that was just terrible in their last game against Colts.
From week 2 to now, totally different football teams. Somehow Tennessee managed to get that win in Nashville when the Texans outgained them 437 to 283.
Right.
Just one of those days, late field goal, but I expect a different result in a big way tomorrow.
When you see what the Houston Texans can throw at you from a pass rush standpoint, I think they're going to be in a lot of trouble. Marcus Mariota eventually, got injured. He's expected to play, but even if he plays, they better have Blaine Gabbert on standby because he's going to get hit.
What have you seen specifically out of Clowney and Watt? They're staying on a football field for starters.
Yeah, and I think Clowney right now, you talk to NFL people, they'll tell you that Jadeveon Clowney is one of the most disruptive players in professional football. His ability to make inside moves really is stressful on offensive tackles and allows those linebackers to flow outside of that without any blockers. They get to just chase because he's occupying tackles on inside dives. J.J. Watt, he even said he's not necessarily to his standards yet, and yet the production's still there.
Double-digit sacks.
Even if he's not superhero J.J. Watt, he's still a good player. Jadeveon Clowney, a good player. And then when you start to add in, you know, the way the linebackers have played, I think they've done a nice job this year.
Offensively, what are you seeing out of Watson and his continued development? I believe it's 5 straight games now, 25 or fewer pass attempts. He's not needing to throw the ball now. He's not being asked to throw the ball 40, 45 times a game.
No, I think there's still some concerns about decision making. We saw that with Washington.
Yeah.
And he still hasn't eliminated that, and that's going to be a long process. I think understanding when to make certain throws and when to take care and how to take care of the football is going to be important. But you mentioned the pass attempts. That's very important because they're not relying on him to carry the whole load. There are going to be games where he can, but I think he's still in that growth process where you want to, you know, mix and match and the play calling to how he's performing on that particular day and the matchups that the Texans have across from them on the defensive side. So he's still in a process of growth. I think he's still making some mistakes that are correctable, but he can make those chunk plays and those explosive plays that turn into game-winning drives and game-winning moments offensively.
All right, he is Lance Zierlein from ESPN 97.5 and NFL.com. Great stuff.
Thanks.
Hopefully a win tomorrow there at NRG Stadium.
Looking forward to it. Yeah, absolutely.
Appreciate it, Lance.
Sure.
Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, Randy. Now let's take a look at what unfolded around the rest of the NFL today. And we'll start with the second-place team in the AFC South. That is the Colts. They have been turning things around by winning 4 straight now, hosting the Dolphins today. Pick it up fourth quarter here. Andrew Luck connecting with Eric Ebron for the 12-yard touchdown, his second of the day. That ties the game at 24. So later, the Colts get the ball back on 3rd and 9. Luck looking for a big play, and he would connect with Chester Rogers for the big first down. Now it is the veteran kicker, Adam Vinatieri, hits the 32-yard field goal to clinch the win, 5 in a row for the Colts now. The Steelers took a 6-game win streak on the road against the Broncos. Seconds left in the half. Pittsburgh runs a fake field goal past kicker Chris Boswell throws a 2-yard touchdown pass to tie the game 10-10. Third quarter now, Ben Roethlisberger under pressure throws it to Juju Smith-Schuster, who takes it 97 yards all the way to the house. Steelers led 17-10. The Broncos rally Case Keenum to Emmanuel Sanders to tie it up. Then this 2-yard Phillip Lindsay touchdown run that takes the lead and gives them the 24-17 win. And things were getting chippy in Buffalo between the Bills and the Jags. Third quarter, Blake Bortles connects with Dante Moncrief for the touchdown. The call was reversed. So then after that play, Shaq Lawson and Leonard Fournette go blow for blow on the sidelines. Both of those players were ejected, and the Bills take the lead after that. This is Josh Allen, 14-yard touchdown run. As the Bills win it 24-21, 7th straight loss for Jacksonville as they fall to 3-8.
Jump ball to the end zone. Rodgers, I think, made that catch.
Well, just one of many incredible plays in what has to be the game of the year. What the Aggies were saying after their incredible victory in Kyle Field. Coming up.
This is Sports Sunday, presented by Nissan.
Mon looking that way. Got it!
There's not a lot of words I can say.
It's Rodgers!
It's just an incredible football game.
The Aggies win the game of the year in the Southeastern Conference.
I've never been anything like it.
What a night at Kyle Field. Nearly 200 combined plays, over 1,000 yards of offense, and an FBS record 146 combined points. All it took was 7 overtimes last night. Aggies snap a 7-game skid against LSU and win a wild one, 74-72. Even the guys on the field can't believe the night they had.
Words can't even explain. You know, that was 7 overtimes. Isn't that the record, you know, for the most overtimes? And that's absolutely outstanding. You know, starting off, you know, this team fought, you know, for seven overtimes, and I'm still lost for words.
And the stage is set for the Big 12 championship now, with Texas beating Kansas and Oklahoma beating West Virginia. The Longhorns and the Sooners will have a rematch. And despite Texas topping OU in the Red River Showdown, they open as the 7.5-point underdogs. The Big 12 championship is set for December 1st at AT&T Stadium in Arlington.
And also on the gridiron, rough last couple of weeks for the Cougars. Lost Eric King to injury, then got Ed Oliver back. But you see he was in tears during the second half of the Cougars' loss this past week as he re-injured his knee and did not return. At 8-4, though, the Cougars will go to a bowl game. but they'll do so without defensive coordinator Mark D'Onofrio. He was fired today. Cougars allowed 40 points a game over the final 6, and they allowed just a shade under 500 yards a game for the season, bottom 10 in the NCAA. The search for a replacement has begun. We're going to put a wrap on Sports Sunday. We got time for one more tribute to Mr. McNair right after this.
All right, we're back on Sports Sunday. Before we end it tonight, we got a big game tomorrow night, Monday Night Football.
Yes,
Texas trying to keep this winning streak going against Tennessee.
Yeah, like you and Lance talked about earlier, I do think it's going to be a much different story this go around with Tennessee. The Texas defense was great against Tennessee the first time. They should be just as good this time.
And the Colts are gaining ground. They've been winning out.
So it's
getting tighter. Yeah, and more's on the line, and Texans want to keep this winning streak going. I think they can.
It'll be a very emotional night as well. 7 o'clock, I've been told. Be in your seats early for a special moment for Mr. McNair.
Yeah, so if you're tailgating, leave the tailgate, get inside the stadium, and pay tribute to a longtime Texans owner, the only owner, Bob McNair, who passed away on Friday. We appreciate Chester Pitts coming in, Lance Zierlein. It's been a good show as we've honored Mr. McNair. For Wex and Laney and Randy McElvoy, thanks for watching tonight. We leave you right now with some more memories from the life of Bob McNair.
A man of strong convictions, McNair believed in serving the greater good, giving generously throughout his lifetime to countless charities and causes.
As an asset in this community, I can't think of two more important people than Janice and Bob McNair.
You arranged this? Thank you so much for this.
I'd like to think that I'd be remembered as an honorable man, as a good Christian man, and that I always did things in a first-class manner and treated people honestly. And I think that